Alien Earth was back with episode 3 on Tuesday night. What did we think? Well, let's go through my notes. This is going to be a quick little review and thought session. First things first, awesome episode. I like the way they've continued the story. I think they did a great job establishing more of the side characters. They left Wendy basically decommissioned for most of the episode. Spoilers, sorry, I hope that everyone's aware of that. I should have probably said that at the beginning, but too late now. Spoilers abound in this quick talk, but they allow other characters to shine. You see a lot more of Kirsch. You see a lot more of the dynamic between Kirsch and Boy Cavalier. I'm still trying to learn the names, sorry. You learn a lot more about Morrow, and that he's not really just evil, or that he's not just an android. You find out more about his story. You find out that the mission that him and his team were on was 65 years in the making. So basically, they're leaving in like 30 years from now, from the math, which is crazy. So yeah, let's get into it. First things first, Wendy's cardio is insane. I know that it's a synthetic, but the actress clearly did her work for this, because the first 10 minutes of the episode is her just running, which is pretty cool. She does in fact have the blade. When me and Rufus were talking about episodes 1 and 2 last week, which you could check out on my channel, we were discussing if she ripped off that guillotine blade, the guillotine from cutting papers in school or at work, and she put it on her back. Seemingly it connected to her back magnetically. We thought it disappeared when she went to fight, but no, sure enough it's there. And also it's a magic blade, because it cuts through an alien, gets acid all over it, and then magically a couple minutes later she's able to use it to decapitate the same alien. So pretty awesome blade. We have to find out whatever company makes that, because that's the one I want to get my next guillotine out of for when I'm slicing photographs and stuff. That sounds amazing. I like that the alien can tell that she's not human, or that something about her is off when she's protecting Hermit in the little meat locker scene, and that the alien basically goes T-Rex and starts throwing it gets attacked and goes T-Rex and starts throwing the shipping container on its side and bashing it and stuff, which was just awesome. You knew that once she got time in the thing alone with it, that they were going to get in a crazy battle, and it's easy to save money to have that off screen. You knew Wendy wasn't going to die. You didn't know what was going to happen, so it was pretty cool to see her kill the Xeno, but also get damaged herself. We don't know what damage she sustained. We just know it was some type of leaking milk from her head. So we'll hopefully find out more about that, if it matters or not. It was strange to see that. I'm going to get into this at the end of the episode, but Wendy has shown to have some type of connection with the xenomorphs, or the aliens in general. In the first episode, there was clicking and other noises that she heard that nobody else heard when they were approaching the ship. Now in this episode, it's flat out when they're doing a dissection on the facehugger and things like that, she's having physical reactions to it, which I don't know how that's possible. If the aliens were just discovered on this trip, how would their physiology be involved in her synthetic upbringing or her synthetic creation? Unless if somehow Boy Cavalier obtained alien technology beforehand, but he seems pretty confused and excited at the prospect of seeing these creatures for the first time himself. So there's a lot of questions there that I think will be answered in future episodes. But for now, there's a lot unanswered. Like in Halloween, probably the best horror movie of all time, in my opinion, a very similar movie to Alien, where they build the tension without seeing the character on screen. There's not a lot of blatant action. This show does a great job of that, because they're trying to spread the budget out. It's a TV show, it's not a movie. They need to do 8 episodes or 10 episodes, which is 10 hours of film. So even if it was a movie, it would be the most expensive movie ever made. So what they're doing is they're building tension in smart ways. They're hinting at the alien. They're making you think you see it in corners where you don't see it. They're showing the humans scared and letting their eyes focus on things, then the aliens behind them. They're doing a great job of building tension that way. We don't need to see the alien just on screen jumping at people every 2 seconds, because I think that also would expose the CGI and the animation, and it's better to just go old school with it, which they're doing a great job of. I found it weird that the alien twice now has had Hermit, also known as Wendy's brother, covered and about to be killed, seemingly, and has waited. I know that he has plot armor, but it seems a little contrived that both times he's the alien that is, in other instances, in every other instance we've seen so far in the show, this alien has just immediately killed and attacked things and ripped off their heads, but with Hermit he's taking his time, which I thought was fun. For a second, I honestly thought that the two kids in synth bodies, were going to open an egg as they were playing with it, because the eggs clearly were not showing a reaction to the synths. So I didn't know how they were going to play into the scene. If the synth was going to actually try to open it up, because he's like, "What are the eggs about?" They kept asking, they kept bringing it up. Then Morrow shows up, and you find out that Morrow is a kind of a tragic character. He was seemingly aware of what he was doing, but not in control of what he was doing during the crash of the. I always forget the Marigold or whatever the hell the name of the ship is. And now he almost seems to have a vendetta against the aliens and the creatures because of what they did to him and his crew, which is weird. We didn't see that in the first episode, or in the first blip of the first episode, but I think we're going to get more of that as the series goes on. So we find out Morrow was human and was transformed into a cyborg, which is different than a synth, so he had parts added to him. So again, we have synths, we have straight androids, and then we have cyborgs. So things are getting a little, not messy, but it's we're having some diversion amongst our artificial creatures. So that's our artificial humans. So that's interesting. But basically, Morrow, you can't tell. Again, the alien didn't seem interested in him when he was escaping on the last mission, or in the last episode when he killed the 3 or 4 people that arrested Morrow. But in this instance, the eggs do seem to react to Morrow getting nervous, which they've established in this episode, or in this show, that the eggs react to fear, in addition to the humans being there. I guess so their state of mind matters, which is something that they haven't really talked about in the movies before, and it's, they're adding to the lore, for better or for worse. But I was confused by that, because then later you see humans near the eggs, and they take a lot longer to react than usual. So again, it's was Boy Cavalier scared of the egg when he saw it? Was he not scared? Why did the egg start opening? They're kind of establishing new rules with the eggs, but they're not established yet. And the eggs had been pretty straightforward for almost 50 years now. So that's where things get a little murky. So now they've completely cleared off the ship. All the eggs, the specimens, the aliens, the dead bodies are moved to Prodigy's Island, which is somewhere in the ocean. So as much as this is Alien Earth, we are back to Alien vs. Predator or Alien 3 or any of the aliens, where it's an isolated environment. They might as well be in space. So it's Alien Earth, but the idea of, it looks like the idea of being around that crashed ship and seeing the potential outbreak in a city and then them having to nuke a city or whatever, that's off the table now. Everything was cleaned off. There's no possible remnants from what we saw. As far as we could tell, Morrow being in that town still is the last we'll see of him, or we'll see of the town. He left some kind of tracker on, I forget the young boy's name, or the young man's name, the Indian fellow who's a lost boy. He left some kind of device on his neck, so now he can communicate with him. They have an interesting dynamic where the boy is clearly, apprehensive about talking to this stranger, but at the same time, I think maybe he does have a little interest in talking to him and finding out the story and finding out more. I do like that the kids, actually, the 2 kids that were featured in this episode, multiple kids, so to speak. That's what I'm referring to these Lost Boys as. I liked that the dynamic between that guy and his friend that showed up around the eggs, they weren't as annoying as they were in the first show. Or in the first episode. They played with each other a little bit. Once the scenes got serious, you saw they had a good relationship. They were acting like real kids in a situation that were curious and concerned about what was going on. So I liked that dynamic. I thought they came across a lot better than they did in the previous episode. So that was great. Let's see the next one I have. It's fascinating what the other... Wait, what did I say? I'm sorry, I miswrote my own notes there. Oh, interesting. Sorry, that's not... I misunderstood what I was writing. I'm curious to see what happens with the other robot that showed up at Boy Cavalier's office late at night, and the synth, excuse me. And she was basically... She has some kind of jealousy towards Wendy and wants to be the new favorite. She wants to learn. It almost seems like Boy Cavalier is actually fascinated, and this might be the creature that finally gives him the conversation he's interested in. He's going to give her a bunch of books and things to read to try to expand her mind. So... that's interesting. Out of nowhere, one of the characters is trying to elevate, not trying, but is being elevated as some kind of either adversary or something. So I kind of dig that. Also, I wonder, did they really just pull the brother's lung for the experiment? It was damaged, or he was damaged, but I think they just harvested his lung for fun because it didn't look like the injury it looked like they were sealing his spine, like they were doing some type of surgery there. So why did the lung get pulled out? I know they wanted to test because that's where facehuggers typically go into, I guess, the chest cavity, the lung. And it was interesting also how they kind of changed the idea of the chest burster. Not that it's dropping an egg anymore, but now that it's dropping like like a mini version of itself, like a little fish version. I don't know what to think of that. I also know in Alien Cold Forge they explained that the facehugger wasn't even dropping an egg into the human. It was dropping some type of primordial goo in there that would touch the DNA of whatever host it was and immediately start forming. It wasn't a predetermined egg. It was something that it started forming a creature from this goo. So that ties back into the Alien Covenant and Alien Prometheus stuff. So I don't know what direction they're going here with this. As far as the most pressing question of the episode, the question the episode leaves us with is, what's Wendy's connection to the aliens here? She seems to have some type of telepathic, physical, mental, I have no idea, connection with the xenomorphs or the creatures in general. What is it? Why was she incapacitated at the end? So it's going to be a long week waiting for that answer. Myself and Rufus will be on, if not tomorrow night, the next night, discussing this episode together so that we get a little back and forth. But I just wanted to put something out there with my fresh thoughts. Wanted to show off my new Nostromo hat. Came in the mail. Pretty awesome. I've always wanted one, and now I figured, covering Alien Earth, this is the perfect time to finally purchase one. So let me know in the comments what you thought. Please leave a like, a subscribe, do all that crap. And I will see you next time. Can't wait for the next episode.